Well, hello everyone. I haven't put out a video in quite some time, and I think it's because I don't know if anybody else is feeling this, but with all this AI going on, I've been on Facebook and watching different people posting pictures that obviously are not real photographs. They're just AI generated, and lots of people saying, "Wow, how did you get that? Where did you find that? Oh, I've never seen that before." And I'm just shocked at how many people don't realize that those pictures aren't real. But it's a little bit disappointing, but hey, that's the way it goes. That's technology, and I'm sure when digital cameras first came out, and the film camera people, if you don't change and adapt, you're gonna go by the anyway, it's difficult. So I was watching all these, and I just kind of was looking at that, and kind of unmotivated me, and I need to get motivated again and back onto some photography. So I sat down this weekend, Memorial Weekend. I was looking through some of my older photographs that I'd taken and some of the places I've been, and really just, I'm not a professional photographer, so I'm just happy that of the photographs I have, what I've done, and the places I've been, and I should just be excited about that and not worry about all the other stuff. What I really wanted to talk about was, I've put out a couple of videos. One was about my Micro Four Thirds setup, which is what I use, Micro Four Thirds. And in a recent video I said what I take when I'm hiking, the lenses I take, the equipment I have with me when I'm going on a hike. And interestingly enough, one of the lenses that I've left out of all of that is, I was thinking is one of my favorite lenses. But when you're hiking and everything, weight is a consideration, and what do you actually need? So this, I'm kind of looking for some guidance, I guess, advice, or what you guys think about this. But I have this lens here, and this is the 50-200 Leica Vario Panasonic Lumix G Vario Elmart, or maybe it's not. Yeah, it is the Leica. So anyway, this is the lens, and it's just a beautiful lens. It's a great lens I use, and I was wondering, since I leave it behind now most of the time, how much did I actually use this lens? Now, I got this lens when I believe I was overseas at the time. I was in the Middle East, and then I moved to Singapore. Now the thing was, when I went to Singapore, I wasn't working at the time. I just went there. Well, I was working, but it was remote, and I was finishing up a project, and so I had this lens, but I had lots of time. So I spent most of my time every morning getting up, riding my bike out, and taking photographs. So I did take a lot of photographs while I was in Singapore. But I wondered how many of my, and I didn't at that time have my 35-100 Panasonic 2.8, which I've talked about, and I do have now. So at the time, I had the 25mm 1.4 Panasonic. I did not have my 100-400 that I use now on Olympus. I didn't have the OM1. I had my G9 was my main camera. I had an EM5 Mark II, which I'm filming on now, and I had my EM10 Mark II, and I had my G9, which my G9 was my go-to camera. I used that 90% of the time, I would say, while I was in Singapore. My first camera while I was in the Middle East was the EM10 Mark II, which I used significantly most there because it was the camera I had there. So I was just going through Lightroom, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to pop up and see how much I actually used this lens. And looking through the metadata, so I pulled it up, and out of the 91,156 pictures I have taken, I used this lens 38,803 times. By far the most of any lens that I have. Like I said, I love this lens. Why I don't include it? Because now that I have the 12 to 35, the 35 to 100, and then the 100 to 400, if I'm going on a hike and it's not light, it's a heavy lens, you know, it just doesn't make sense to bring it. But I love it. So it's been sitting on my end table and I haven't used it. And what do I do? So my thought was I would just sell this lens. But every time I think about that, then it's just hard to let it go. 38,803 photographs. And I'm going to pop up some of the photographs I've taken with this lens. I mean, it was obviously, at the time, this is the only long lens, if you want to call it that I had. So 200, 400 millimeter equivalent. So I used this. Now in Singapore, landscapes were, I went out and did landscape photography, but Singapore is very small. And at the time was COVID, so you couldn't travel anywhere else, unfortunately. So, you know, taking landscapes is very difficult in Singapore. I mean, I took a lot of the same landscapes, just trying to make them better and doing all that. But the big thing in Singapore is bird photography. I think I've spoken about this before. Guys have the big Nikon and the Canon, huge lenses and very expensive lenses, and birds is the thing, and they'll have there's a Facebook page you could go on, and they'll tell you which birds are where, and you can go find them, and that was the big thing, birds. Now, I liked all wildlife, because they had some neat different wildlife in Singapore, but, you know, what should I do? So I'm asking for your help. What do I do? I don't really use it that much anymore. But man, it's just difficult to part with this lens. It was so good to me. And let me show you some of the pictures I've taken with this lens. And as I scroll through here, I mean, like I said, birds was a big thing in Singapore. The kingfisher was always a big thing about the different kingfishers. And there's several different ones, and I wish I was more adept on my kingfisher knowledge. But there was a belted kingfisher, and I don't know, different kingfishers, and every time, you know, people would tell you, or people would let you know where the kingfishers were at the time. But I got some great photos of otters. I got some great pictures of some herons. I got some great pictures of the big monitor lizards that they have there. I landscapes with this. This lens was on my camera, obviously 38,000 pictures most of the time. I took pictures of my daughters swimming. They were swimmers. I took pictures of them doing that. As I go through some of these, it's just an amazing lens. But what do you do with an amazing lens that you don't use? I just don't use it that much anymore. Now that I have the 100 to 400, I have the reach, and believe me, I love the reach. And I have the 1.4 teleconverter, and it's great. But looking at some of these pictures, I think, wow, you know, I mean, this lens did me solid for quite some time, and it's versatile. I mean, you do get 400 millimeters reach out of it. It's like a 100 to 400 if you had a full frame, which is it's a great focal length, but it's kind of brings back memories of these pictures I was able to get with this lens. As other guys are there with these monster lenses that are this long, and here I am with my G9 and my 50 to 200 small, you know, lens on there, taking pictures. So it's a difficult choice. Do I need it? No. Would I be sad to get rid of it? Yes. Should I get rid of it? I don't know. What do you think? I mean, so many memories with this lens. But what, I mean, does that, I just know as soon as I sell this lens, I'm going to regret it. But then again, now that, you know, I mean, I have the 12 to 35, 35 to 100, 100, 400. I have the trilogy, as they call it, the focal lengths I need. Do I need this lens? So as I pop up these photos, you can see just how the quality of this lens. I mean, it's sharp, it's fast. I mean, it's a beautifully built lens. It's silky smooth, 2.8 to 4 point. So, I mean, at 2.8 at 50 millimeters, that's pretty fast, fairly fast. 4 f4 at 200, yeah. But it's, I mean, it's built, the quality of it, it just really is a fantastic lens. So I'm kind of, wow. Oh, that's right, it's got a button. I mean, it's just silky smooth. Looks a little bit better when you put the lens hood on it. Made me look a little bit more, or a little, you know, I don't know what I mean. But, you know, those guys had those huge lenses, and me with this little lens, it was kind of funny to watch. It's got the powered, you know, OIS on it. It's just, I'm just going to ramble on about this lens, but then I keep coming back to the fact that I don't take it with me anymore. And now that I do, you know, I mean, for my landscapes, I have the 12 to 35 for if I want wide, and I have the 35 to 100 2.8 Panasonic for if I want to do some portraits, or, you know, I mean, you can use that with landscapes too. And I'm just having a hard time. I mean, you know, it's $1,000. It's not a cheap lens. It's a very expensive lens. So, but as you can see, these pictures that I'm popping up are just, I mean, the lens, it's a great lens. It really is. So I'm having problems. So if you could please, in the comments, let me know what you think I should do with this lens. Should I sell it? Should I keep it? I don't know. I just have, you know, I didn't even realize, I mean, I honestly didn't realize that this lens was so prolific in my library. I would have never told you that over a third of my pictures have come with this lens. I would have never guessed it. I would have never guessed it. Because I thought most of the time when I was doing landscapes, I would have been using the 12 to 35, but I actually have quite a few landscapes on with this lens. And then all of my, at that point, this was, like I said, this was my telephoto lens. And I mean, look at some of these pictures. I mean, they're just difficult decision. I know what I should do. I know what's practically correct, but emotionally, it's a difficult one. Anyway, that's it. I'm just going to ramble on. You've seen some of the pictures that I've left about this, and if you could please, you know, do me a favor, help me out a little bit, leave a comment on what you think I should do with this lens, and I would appreciate it. And you know, selling it to you for a very reduced price isn't really an option, so because it's still in perfect condition. I mean, not a scratch on it. It's beautiful. So anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.